It's not just old people that have a smell. You got a smell too. They probably just can't tell you. Maybe their smells are off and they can't smell you as much, but everybody has a smell. I was on my way to an appointment and I had to use the restroom. So I had to find the quickest place to relieve myself, and it was a restaurant. It was hot, it was humid, and I went into this restaurant's bathroom and I couldn't make it. Now the smells were not the traditional restroom smells. The first thing that came out my mouth was this: it smells like kids in here. Now I love kids, and at the time I was working with kids all the time. I didn't even know that I had distinguished kids by smell. I didn't even, that was just what came out. And every time I tried to use the bathroom, I would gag. I was like, oh, no, I couldn't do it. It was like, you know that when the smell that gets like tangible, it can get in your mouth, like, oh, I couldn't do it. So there was no trace of kids anywhere, but I was like, it smells like kids and it's too strong. And I had to pee, but I couldn't do it. All of a sudden, the lady comes from out of one of the stalls, and she's like, are you okay? Are you okay, honey? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it's anyone here. And my first response, it smells like kids. I didn't mean to say that, but that was like, and you know what she said? She said, you're right. It does smell like kids in here. I said, I knew it. I knew it. It wasn't that I was like making stuff up. It was something that I knew, and I can't even describe it. And she was an older woman, like a grandmother. So, you know, she knows. She's like, you're right. It smells like kids in here. And so I was like, okay. But it was just too much for me at that time because it was humid and everything. And you know, when it's humid, it smells magnified, right? And eventually I couldn't leave. I mean, I had to leave and I had to find another place to use the restroom. I couldn't do it. But what do kids smell like? I don't know. It's like a mixture of ketchup, 2-day-old McDonald's fries, mayonnaise, and outdoors. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I love children. Actually, they're actually my favorite people to be around. So it wasn't that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm too sensitive. But do you know that everyone smells a certain way? Not just old people, not just kids. Everyone has a smell. When I was in New Zealand, they said that Americans smell like cow milk. I said, what? Oh, gross. Another gagging moment. But for them to be able to be comfortable enough to tell me that, then I'm thinking that they must not have thought that I smell like that. Now, this is just what I'm thinking. But the question is why? This is not just some chemical fluke in our body makeup or something like that. No, you smell like cow. Americans smell like cow's milk because we drink a lot of cow's milk, and it's in certain pockets of culture. And so I probably don't smell like cow's milk, but of course they're so kind they wouldn't tell me what I smell like. And maybe they didn't smell anything. I don't know. You can't really smell yourself, but it's interesting to know how you can be distinguished by your smell to others. Let me tell you why Americans smell like cow's milk. The interesting thing is, it's based on a marketing campaign. A marketing campaign. So way back in the day, farmers were losing out because they could not sell their milk. Somebody knew the power of relationships, and they got with a group of farmers got with the government, and they employed this act whereby every school in America, every child in the school system would have a milk carton for lunch till this day. Now, this is way back decades ago. I think in the 50s or 40s, maybe even before, maybe prior to then, I don't know. But it was for them to come up with a plan for a solution so their kids could eat. They probably didn't know the implications of how it would last generations upon generations, to the point where it literally has changed not only the psyche and the mentality of our entire culture as a country, but the chemical body makeup of who we are, to the point we can cross seas, go 3,000 miles away, and people who have never been to this country can distinguish a people group by that smell of cow's milk. So their marketing campaign with the government got milk cartons in every school. In America, even in private schools, when you pay for the schooling, it's all inclusive with the food. So if you have working parents, like a lot of parents have to work these days, both of them, and they drop their kids off for school for breakfast, guess what they're having with their breakfast? Milk. Then they come to lunchtime. The first thing you see in the cafeteria, milk. Then they go home, and what do many parents have their children have with dinner? Milk. Now, I was traumatized by that almost, because I had never seen that before in my life. I grew up, I was raised, let's say this, I went to a school that was predominantly white. It was an all-girl Catholic school, and when I would go over their house to have fun or to visit and things like that, their parents would have them drink milk with their dinner. And I thought, what monstrosity is this? You don't do that. What is this? Is a torturous environment, because in my culture, in my cultural upbringing, we only drank milk with cereal, like for breakfast, or with warm chocolate cake, or with some apple pie. But you don't have milk with spaghetti. That don't go together. In some household, it does. Why? Because that marketing campaign to become a solution to a problem not only infiltrated the school system, but even the medical system. So they told the pediatricians, they're growing up, they gotta have strong bones. Milk is the source of vitamin D and calcium. And so that became ingrained. Do you know there are other sources for calcium? Even greater amounts of calcium than in a cup of milk? You don't know it because it's not all in your face. In the 80s and 90s, what we see, milk mustache, does the body good. You had the guy with big muscles in the magazine, does the body good. You had the Keith Garrett, does the body good. It was all in your face, and nobody questions it. So what do? They feed their children the milk for dinner. They drop them off for school in the morning. They have milk for breakfast. Then you got milk cartons. And then there was a marketing campaign on top of a marketing campaign. Do you remember back when they had the where am I on the back of the milk cartons? Who did they mainly feature on? Their children. So that was the target consumer base. Obviously, the children don't have the money, the parents do. But because they are good, responsible parents, they want to do the best for them. Well, if people of upper echelon or people in my circle say that this is good, then it's good. And their doctors, their physicians, obviously they would know. But it was all based on a marketing campaign. I'm not saying milk is bad. It's good for us, but it's a little bit deceptive in its delivery, to the point where nobody has questioned it, and that you just keep the trend going. It's more than a trend, actually. It's generational that certain pockets of culture within our country teach their children, who teach their children, who teach their children, to the point where our physical makeup is changed, and we can go again overseas and be known by the smell of our bodies smelling like cow's milk. That's deep. It makes me wonder, what other things am I taking in or consuming, whether it's natural, spiritual, emotional, that I don't question or don't ask why? Why is it milk is the source of vitamin D and not, I don't know, broccoli? Why do we have to do milk so much? What else could I be doing, or could we be doing, just by habit, just by tradition, just by culture, that we are passing down, when there are other alternatives that could be better solutions? Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Everybody has a smell. Oh, I used to tell myself I smell like roses, right? I took a real good smell of roses one day, and I was like, these smell like cornflakes. Cornflakes don't smell bad, but it wasn't what I was thinking, like what I was romanticizing. And maybe it's something wrong with my nose, I don't know. But to me, roses smell like cornflakes. I was thinking it was going to smell like, the nice flowery, not the grandma perfume, but the nice, no offense to grandma perfume, I'm going to be a grandma someday. I'm just saying, it's interesting how our concepts of things and what we think change once we actually pay attention, once we actually question, once we actually think. And I know it takes time to intentionally think, but it's very important. You have your job, you got to raise those kids, you got all these things, and so you're like, Why do I have to think about it? If it's not harming anything, it's okay. It's, of course it's okay. It's not harming, but you still want to know why. You know, especially if it's not based, if it wasn't based initially on findings on scientific findings for health. It was based literally as a marketing campaign, which again, it's not bad, but maybe you know what I'm saying. I hope this blesses you. Have a wonderful day.